In this Unit 3D of the 3D tutorial series, we're going to talk about text and logos. And this is a very important subject because this is incredibly crucial for industrial work. You do a lot of computer graphics and you do a lot of text, and logos usually contain words, and that's why we do this. Now, one thing I'll say at the onset is that Lightwave is not particularly good at handling text. I've seen programs that do it more easily, but in fact it does work. So text is in the Create tab, and you see that you can select your text down here. This is one way of doing it. Now you'll notice that your cursor becomes a caret, and if you click anywhere on the screen you can begin typing. Let's say I write a simple word, let's say perspective. And as you can see, it doesn't start out looking particularly good. We haven't even got the holes carved into the words, but we can work with it. So let's say we go into the numeric tab. Now if you hit the N key, you'll notice that it's just going to keep on adding to the word. So you have to go into numeric this way by clicking it down there. And let's say we choose a different font. Let's say we start with the simple one, a sans serif font like Arial, for example. So there. And that's actually a little easier for the computer to manage. And so if you look at that one, we can see that perspective is now two-dimensional. Now the other factor is perspective is only one-sided, which is okay. We'll deal with that later. But it could be this is all you really need to do. But if this was all you really need to do, you don't need a 3D program. Let's say we want to give that some depth. So if we turn off text, say let's go into polygon mode and select those shapes. Then in the multiply tab, if we go into bevel, just like we did in many other shapes, we can see that we can do some interesting stuff here. So let's say that we do that. And if we keep it nice and straight, we won't get any impossible geometry. So perspective now is in perspective. Now, we do have one issue though, is if we turn it around, you'll see that we lose the shapes because there are no backs to the letters. Now, believe it or not, that's not a huge problem, because if you were doing this simply as a logo, you're never going to see the back of it. If you needed to, we can do it differently. Okay, so now the other thing that you'll want to do is you'll want to recognize that the face of the letters should be a different surface than the back parts of the letters. And I'll show you why. So let's say I turn off bevel, and let's say, well, I've got that particular surface selected, that's the face, and if I go down in here to change surface, I'm just going to call that face. And so then one trick that I like to do is if I deselect that and I select everything and then deselect face, that will be, go to change surface, I'm going to call that non-face. And let's say we save this, put it on the desktop, and we call that perspective. And let's say we go into layout and we load that object. There it is. And so let's say that we go into our surface editor and we want to make the face, say, green. Well, how about blue? It's kind of a dark blue. And let's say we want to make the non-face part kind of a lighter shade. And let's say we want to make that partially transparent. So it kind of looks like a streak. You can also give it specularity, do other things with it. And we can even make the face glow a little bit. So then, if we look at it in camera view, and we move our camera in, let's say, let's go up on it, like that. And if you render that real quick, hitting the F9 key, you can see you've got some possibilities here to create various effects using text. Now another way to create some simple text is to use the logo tool. The logo tool down here takes a lot of the work away from you. Here you simply add your text into the window. So let's say in perspective, and you can choose your font. And let's say we choose brush script. And it will literally do all the work for you. Now I use this probably more than I use any other. One of the things that's nice about this one is that it also creates the back surfaces as well. You can do that manually by simply creating polygon out of the points, but this is actually pretty easy to do. And you can have the same basic controls over it. You can give your faces and your non-faces different textures. And basically the sky is the limit. You can make any kind of text that you want.